So honored to be here. What tremendous companies on here. So my name is Jalali Hartman. I'm here in Longmont, Colorado, just up on the Front Range of Colorado. And we're very early. So in terms of our product, we just got our seed round, and we'll be doing an angel round starting the end of next quarter. So Robauto is intelligent IoT for the new normal, and I'm going to talk about what that means in a second here. But I don't mean it's going to replace the oil and gas monitoring you have or track your assets. It's a tool for innovation. So much like WordPress allows people to make websites, Robauto allows you to kind of innovate a cellular-driven or outside the lab, non-Wi-Fi IoT product. Next slide. So I've been doing this a while. If you go to the next slide real quick. I've been doing this a while, and was just chatting with one of my colleagues here. And so we're kind of at the point, especially here in Colorado, it really feels like that, where humans alone can't solve these problems, right? So we have all of these environmental, et cetera, it kind of goes on and on. It's almost overwhelming. And I'm a big believer in the way you solve those problems is you open up innovation. So you provide access. That's what I've been doing in my career. And so we've created this product that allows anybody. I feel like a lot more people need to be working on this stuff. It's way too hard. So next slide. So this is not a picture of me, obviously, but 23 years ago, we had an e-commerce startup. So we had a platform that was enabling e-commerce, right? Similar situation. Each night, pretty much one night a week, I'd have to go to a data center and unplug things and turn things back on. And it was just this ridiculous situation where everybody was trying to create their servers and then their own websites and then their own marketing, right? And now you look at kind of what we do, it's all one kind of seamless platform. Well, that's where I feel IoT is today. So if you go to the next slide, go to the next slide, a little feedback there. Sorry, next slide. So anyway, 23 years ago as in e-commerce, that market's about 5 trillion this year, pretty significant. IoT is kind of blowing me away. Some of you may be in this industry. It's almost like the tsunami of business. We can't keep up. 1.4 trillion by 2026. And if you kind of look at the platforms and the people and the things that enable this, it's really not there yet, especially as compared to something like e-commerce. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do, kind of what we're working on. So I'm a big believer in the way that you create products is get with the customers and figure out how to solve this. So what I did first was the last 2 years, we just started doing custom IoT services. So we say, hey, you have a problem, here's a solution. We drove about 300,000 in revenue, just solving all kinds of different things. If you go to the next slide, I'll show you kind of where we're at with it. Anything from solar to swarm robotics to monitoring devices. Just go to the next slide. Really, and what we kind of found was the application was always the same, right? They want they had some prototype. They were trying to figure out how to connect sensors and motors to it, how to make that thing secure and connect to the network, and how to make it feed information up to the web. Right. So we just kept doing that over and over and over, and finally figured out, okay, well, let's just make a platform. Let's make a simple edge device, a node, a series of sensors that always work. And let's make it so easy. And this is kind of the directive that I gave our team, that high school kids could create a new product, invent a new kind of invention, like you see the scooters driving around and different things like that. Literally throw it out of a plane or in a river and it just works. Like that's how easy we wanted to make it from a power perspective, from a data perspective. Some of you, I'm sure, have been in there trying to figure out how all these things kind of fit together. It's a nightmare. So next slide. I'm not sure what's wrong with the slide there. Sorry about that, but go to the next slide. So anyway, next thing we did after we started to get a platform, and this is kind of where we're at right now. We just got our initial investment. We have 3 major use cases, actually 4: food delivery, solar, swarm robotics, and I'm going to show you a wildfire monitoring kind of tool that we have. So we started to get some traction. We got some initial funding, a couple of awards if you start to Google around. But the idea here is let's start to work this platform out. Let's make this really simple. Can we help these startups be successful, help these platforms kind of prosper? What goes into that from a technology perspective is what Robauto is all about. Next slide. Next slide. So what problems do we solve? So these are probably kind of boring to some of you, but if you've ever tried IoT, especially cellular or outside of Wi-Fi networks, connection is a nightmare. Trying to keep that thing connected in an oil and gas field in Northwest Colorado. Compatibility, nothing ever works. The sensors and things all require different libraries, and so it kind of requires a bunch of PhD types like you guys to get on there and make these things work, right? Well, that limits what we can do. the average person with an idea is still very much stuck making web applications and apps and so on, right? So we want to change that. So very basic platform, here's your hardware, here's a basic dashboard platform, here's a web connection that analyzes, allows you to do any kind of machine learning, or whatever you could imagine. And then let's deliver it all in one kind of very low cost thing where all you pay for is the data that you use, right? So that's kind of what we're working on. If you go to the next slide, we have a couple of things that we could use some help with.
Hey, good morning.
Okay, next slide. Anyway, so we have a few competitors. I can talk to some of you guys about this. Next slide. I have something very specific that we need some help with. Just go to the end there. Like, happy to talk about secret sauce. It's really, imagine all the things you need to do with IoT rolled into one. We're on a mission to increase our network size. I'm here in the Front Range of Colorado, right in the middle of a bunch of universities and tech companies. We have pretty good flow of talent. I am looking for talent, so reach out to me. But kind of what I'm here to ask you for. So we'll be doing a Series A next month, or next quarter rather. I'm working with a company to kind of help us get ready for that. We want some help with this wildfire. So we have the ability to monitor wildfire. We want buildings, open space, et cetera, that we can test our network on. So with that, I'll open up to questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Anna, you can ask the first question.
Great. So for your platform, I guess a lot of the concerns that we see for our organization, for Walmart, is issues with security, things like involving middleware and things like that. So what's how are you alleviating some of the concerns in that space?
Yes, we use AWS IoT Core as a core kind of interface between the cloud, and then we use double verification. So we do blockchain for location verification, and standard encryption that you'd expect kind of for the rest of it. So I'm happy to get into that with you a little bit, but it's really, I think we're moving to a direction where you do need the blockchain, you need proof of coverage, proof of location, proof of kind of accuracy to complement some of the stuff we're doing. But yeah, there's a lot of problems with security. It's not all solved yet. We feel like we have something that would allow someone to get started with a prototype. Any other questions?
Question from Yoav Weiser. Yeah, we'll wait for Yoav, but in the meantime, Rose Chen.
Hi, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about when you say you have a use case on wildfire resistance. Can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, so the core of these IoT platforms is we can sense pretty much anything and relay that back to the cloud. So we've been deeply impacted by that here. We're looking for specifically organizations that can help us deploy sensing devices in edge of communities or national forest kind of areas. So what we need as our next phase for testing is to basically work this product out from a network perspective. And we feel like that's a great way where we can serve the community, also kind of get the data and stuff that we need. So there's a couple of companies we're collaborating with already on that. So just looking for a few more. Any other questions?